People of Jerusalem, friends of Rome, we celebrate the power of man. You will see them race for glory. You will see them fight for honor. You will see them die for you.
Should have stayed away.
You should have killed me.
I will.
On the set.
This is Michael Faulkner, and it is showtime at the August 16th, 2016 edition of the weekly Podioplex, brought to you on the Chronic Rift Network. This week's birthdays include Jag's Catherine Bell, Deadpool's Brianna Hildebrand, Jennifer Lawrence, Emily Kinney from The Walking Dead, Evanna Lynch from the Harry Potter series, director James Cameron, Robert De Niro, Christian Slater, Jim Carter from Downton Abbey, Amy Adams, and Misha Collins from Supernatural. Starting with the box office report, the bad guys are still winning. At number 10 is Lights Out, down 3 from 7th. At number 9 is 9 Lives, down 3 from 6th. At 8 is new release Florence Foster Jenkins, premiering to $6.6 million. That's along similar lines as the last Meryl Streep headliner, Ricky and the Flash. Audiences gave Jenkins an A- cinema score, which is better than Ricky's B, and the audience was mostly female and nearly all over the age of 25. Critics also thought this one shined with an 86% approval rating. In 7th is Star Trek Beyond, down 2 from 5th, and finishing out this week's bottom 5 is The Secret Life of Pets, finally giving up the upper half of the chart after 6 weeks as it slides 2 from 4th. The top 5 this week begin with Bad Moms, down 2 from 3rd with $11.5 million, added to a total of $71.5 million. There's a lot of staying power here with only an 18% drop in its 3rd week. In 4th place is Jason Bourne, down 2 from 2nd with $13.6 million, added to a total of $126.8 million, and also showing impressive staying power despite a huge 2nd weekend drop. In 3rd place is new release Pete's Dragon, debuting to $21.5 million. Critics gave this modernized remake an impressive 86% approval rating, which places it alongside fellow Disney alumnus The BFG, which was strongly reviewed and then faltered with audiences. Those audiences that did show up gave it an A cinema score, and they were similar to the BFG's audience with 47% male and 53% female, though this time they were a bit younger. Picking up 2nd this week is Sausage Party, premiering to $33.6 million. Expectations were very conservative, with estimates well below $20 million, so this is a surprise for the R-rated animated film. Critics gave it an 82% approval rating, and this party is lining up with Ted 2's performance from last year. The big difference is the budget, which is about $50 million lower for Sausage Party. Audiences weren't as impressed, offering up a middling B cinema score against Ted 2's B+. Maintaining first this week is Suicide Squad, adding $43.8 million to a 2-week total of $222.9 million. While the good news for DC and Warner Bros. Is that the Squad is number 1 for 2 weeks, the bad news is that the film took a huge 67% hit from opening weekend. Does that mean that everything was lower this week? Not really, as the top 12 took in $157.8 million, which is a 16% bump from the same weekend last year. Let's close out the box office report with the look at what was winning in years gone by. 5 years ago in 2011, The Help took number 1 with $20 million in its 2nd weekend of release. 10 years ago in 2006, Snakes on a Plane won the monkey fighting weekend with $13.8 million. 20 years ago in 1996, Tin Cup was the winner with $10.1 million. 30 years ago in 1986, The Fly fused with the title with $7 million, and it's still one hell of a creepy film. And 40 years ago, in 1976, Future World took the box office crown with $3.8 million. The box office premieres for the week of August 19th are trying once again to take down the Suicide Squad, starting with this week's headliner, Ben-Hur, an adventure drama starring Jack Houston, Toby Kebbell, and Rodrigo Santoro.
My family was betrayed by my own brother. I will have revenge.
There is another way. Win the race. Win our freedom.
Should have stayed away.
This is bigger than us now.
This is the epic story of Judah Ben-Hur, a prince falsely accused of treason by his adopted brother, an officer in the Roman army. After years at sea, Judah returns to his homeland to seek revenge, but instead finds redemption. Ben-Hur is rated PG-13. The second title is Kubo and the Two Strings, an animated adventure fantasy starring Charlize Theron, Art Parkinson, and Ralph Fiennes.
You're growing stronger. You might not want to look quite so pleased about that. We grow stronger, the world grows more dangerous. Life has a funny way of keeping things balanced.
Monkey, do you ever say anything encouraging?
I encourage you not to die.
I encourage you not to die.
A young boy named Kubo must locate a magical suit of armor worn by his late father in order to defeat a vengeful spirit from the past. Kubo and the Two Strings is rated PG. And the third wide release this week is War Dogs, a comedy starring Jonah Hill, Miles Teller, and Steve Lance.
Henry has a dinner in 10 minutes, but I wanted you to hear this firsthand. I showed him the list, and he can help.
Great. With which part?
All of it. He can fill the whole order.
You do know it's 100 million rounds, right?
Henry has contacts in Albania.
That country's one giant arsenal.
Tell him the best part.
They're in the process of joining NATO, so they have to dispose of all of their Soviet-era weapons. And I can get most of it for pennies on the dollar.
Now tell him the other best part.
You're looking at the exclusive agent for the whole thing.
Why don't you just bid on the contract yourself?
I'm on a watch list.
Like a terrorist watch list?
Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Wait, what?
Okay, how much for the AK ammo?
10 cents a round.
I'm sorry, you're on a terrorist watch list?
Do you work for Homeland Security? Relax, bro.
Well, you two should probably talk this over.
We will, but we are very interested.
Good. My flight leaves tomorrow morning at 10. I can't spend more than 48 hours in this dump.
That's what I always say. Vegas is a 2-day town.
I was talking about America.
This film is based on the true story of two young men, David Pacuz and Ephraim DiVeroli, who won a $300 million contract from the Pentagon to arm America's allies in Afghanistan. War Dogs is rated R. There are also 5 titles on this week's limited slate, and you can find those in the show notes. Next up is a look at the home entertainment slate for the week of August 16th, and I'll begin with new release on DVD and Blu-ray, and that list begins with The Angry Birds Movie, an animated comedy starring Hannibal Buress, Peter Dinklage, and Bill Hader. Find out why the birds are so angry when an island populated by happy, flightless birds is visited by mysterious green piggies. It's up to 3 unlikely outcasts, Red, Chuck, and Bomb, to figure out what the pigs are up to. The Angry Birds Movie is rated PG. The second title is God's Not Dead 2, a drama starring Jesse Metcalfe, David A.R. White, and Melissa Joan Hart. When a high school teacher is asked a question in class about Jesus, her reasoned response lands her in deep trouble and could expel God from the public square once and for all. God's Not Dead 2 is rated PG. The third title is Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made, a documentary starring Ernie Klein, James Donald, and Rob Fuller. After Raiders of the Lost Ark was released 35 years ago, 3 11-year-old boys from Mississippi set out on what would become a 7-year-long labor of love and tribute to their favorite film, a faithful shot-for-shot adaptation of the action-adventure film. They finished every scene, except one. the film's explosive airplane set piece. Over 2 decades later, the trio reunited with the original cast members from their childhood in order to complete their masterpiece. Raiders, the story of the greatest fan film ever made, is not rated. Swinging by new releases on digital video, there are 2 titles. The first is Me Before You, a romantic drama starring Emilia Clarke, Sam Claflin, and Jenna Louise Coleman. A girl in a small town forms an unlikely bond with a recently paralyzed man she's taking care of. Me Before You is rated PG-13. The other title is Our Last Tango, a musical documentary starring Johanna Copez and Juan Carlos Copez. Our Last Tango is a story of love between the 2 most famous dancers in tango's history, and the story of the tremendous love of tango. Maria Nieves Rego and Juan Carlos Copez met when they were 14 and 17, and they danced together for nearly 50 years. In all of those years, they loved and hated each other and went through several painful separations, but always got back together. Now Juan and Maria are willing to open up about their love, their hatred, and their passion. Our Last Tango is not rated. Moving right along to TV on DVD and Blu-ray, we start things there with Gotham, Season 2 from 2015, starring Ben McKenzie, Donald Logue, and David Mazouz. Everyone knows the name Commissioner Gordon. He is one of the crime world's greatest foes, a man whose reputation is synonymous with law and order. But what is known of Gordon's story and his rise from rookie detective to police commissioner? What did it take to navigate the multiple layers of corruption that secretly ruled Gotham City, the spawning ground of the world's most iconic villains? And what circumstances created them? The larger-than-life personas who would become Catwoman, the Penguin, the Riddler, Two-Face, and the Joker. The second TV title is Hell on Wheels, Season 5 from 2015, starring Anson Mount, Colin Meaney, and Common. Set in the 1860s, the series centers on the former Confederate soldier Colin Bohannon, whose quest for vengeance leads him to the Union Pacific Railroad's westward construction of the first transcontinental railroad. In Season 5, Bohannon finds himself a stranger in a strange land, the mountain town of Truckee, California, home to the Central Pacific Railroad. This rough railroad town teems with thousands of Chinese workers, foreign in language, culture, and traditions. Despite the challenges of corralling his new workforce, Colin leads the Herculean effort to tunnel through the Sierra Nevada mountains, sometimes achieving only inches a day in the race to complete the first transcontinental railroad. Number 3 on the list is Once Upon a Time, Season 5 from 2015, starring Jennifer Goodwin, Lana Parrilla, and Jennifer Morrison. Darkness and light. One conceals, the other reveals, but each is infinitely seductive. Prepare for the ultimate battle between these epic opposing forces in ABC's Once Upon a Time, the complete 5th season. When the savior becomes the Dark Swan, the lines between good and evil blur as Emma begins to relish the intoxicating taste of absolute power. Terrified she'll succumb, Emma and Hook visit Camelot to find the one person who may be able to aid them, Merlin. Unfortunately, King Arthur proves treacherous, and when he joins forces with the vengeful Zelena, Emma and Hook's hopes are shattered. Now Emma and her entire Storybrooke family must embark on a chilling descent to the underworld of Hades, where they'll try to rescue Hook from a fate worse than death, with help from Rumpelstiltskin. But will any of them survive this journey? The final TV title this week is The Vampire Diaries, Season 7 from 2015, starring Nina Dobrev, Paul Wesley, and Ian Somerhalder. Get ready for more epic thrills and romance in the 7th season of The Vampire Diaries. After saying an emotional goodbye to Elena Gilbert, some characters will recover while others falter, and Bonnie, in particular, will explore her new lease on life. As Damon and Stefan's mother, Lily, tries to drive a wedge between the Salvatore brothers, hope remains that Stefan and Carolyn's love is tough enough to survive. Damon will do whatever it takes to take down his mother and her band of heretics, and Enzo will struggle with where his loyalties lie. Plus, with Mystic Falls in disarray and the arrival of the heretics who are set on retaliation and mayhem, the suspense will be stronger than ever. I'll wrap up the home entertainment slate with Blu-rays from the past, and this week I have one title. That's The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. A science fiction action comedy from 1984 starring Peter Weller, John Lithgow, and Clancy Brown. Adventurer, surgeon, and rock musician Buckaroo Banzai and his band of men, the Hong Kong Cavaliers, take on evil alien invaders from the Eighth Dimension. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension is rated PG. No matter where you go, there you are. And after this brief break for about a shameless podcast cross-promotion, you'll be right with us when the Weekly Podioplex returns.
Hello, Christopher. What insanity are you up to today?
Oh, hey, Lydia. I'm downloading some movies.
What? People are always telling me that's illegal.
Not these. They're all public domain. Oh, look, Rescue from Gilligan's Island.
Well, let me see what you're doing. Oh, you're at archive.org. Well, they have thousands of films, TV shows, commercials, radio shows, and books available.
Yeah, but there are so many. I wish there was a podcast or something that would discuss these things. You know, give us an idea of what's worth the time.
Christopher, there is. We do one.
Oh, that's right. We host Orphan Entertainment. Once a month, we pick something from archive.org and review and discuss it. That sure is nice of us.
Sure. Well, why don't you click over to orphan-entertainment.jonja.net and remind yourself a little more about the show.
Will do. So let's see. That's orphan-entertainment.jonja.net. Hey, can we review the Gilligan's Island movie sometime?
We'll see, Christopher. We'll see.
Welcome back. It's time to wrap this up with the Quick Flicks. Wait, what? Yes, that's right. Starting this week, the news returns with a new voice. Please welcome Denise Lemon to the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Riff Network's family. We're happy to have her aboard. So, without further ado, take it away, Denise.
I'm Denise with your Quick Flicks. This week, it's comic book domination as both DCU and MCU make headlines. From the DCU, Suicide Squad will not be getting an R-rated cut. Sad news from the DCU as fans who are hoping for a Deadpool treatment of Suicide Squad have their dreams smashed into itty-bitty pieces. David Ayer explained he never wanted an R-rated movie in the first place. You could easily make this an R-rated movie by having 2 F-bombs or someone smoke a cigarette, but that's not what I think people mean when they ask for an R-rated version, so it was always meant to be PG-13. It's a decision you make before you turn the cameras on. Suicide Squad's cast and crew built the film from the ground up with a PG-13 rating in mind, and as such, they developed a world that does not need a gratuitous R rating. An interesting take given the source material. He can talk to fish. Aquaman flick tackles characters talking underwater. During an interview with IGN, James Wan admits to a little bit of a problem with Arthur Curry and the whole talking underwater thing. Like the number 5, the idea of an air bubble is right out. He aims to work around this little problem by adding a sonic quality to the underwater dialogue. Wan explains, I love the idea of underwater speaking, but with a real sort of sonic aquatic quality to it. So there's this sort of aquatic, almost sonar whale thing. Even though it's in a human language, there's this slight sort of underlay to it, this ping to it, which I think will be interesting for us to design from a sound design perspective. Yeah, it will be fun. Also, Zack has some ideas that he'll be doing in Justice League. If you're thinking of the old Justice League cartoons where they have the floating circle representation of sonar when Aquaman talked to fish, please know that you are not alone. And now we're jumping ship and heading to the Marvel Universe where hairs are split and old villains make a break for the big time. On that Captain Marvel movie and her origin story. We all know the MCU and DCU have similarities. One could even go as far as to say this character was taken from that universe and put into this other universe and changed so they're totally different, you guys. Totally. This has not gone unnoticed by fans and studios alike. Because of this similarity, changes are being made to Carol Danvers, who, like the Green Lantern over in the DCU, receives her powers from an alien race. Nicole Perlman, writer for Captain Marvel, explains, if you were just going to do a straight adaptation of the comics, her origin story is very similar to Green Lantern, and obviously that's not what we want to do. There's a lot of reinvention that needs to happen, and also she's her own person and she's a great character. We have to be aware of what's happened in other Marvel films, and make sure that her particular storyline is unique and fun, and also fits within this world that's going on at the same time. It's a little bit of an interesting story gauntlet. It's been a good to have a partner. It's been an incredible experience. If we can pull it off, it could be an incredibly important but also really fun and kick-ass superhero film. Marvel doesn't need much help in that respect, but if they want to split hairs, that's their prerogative. The Shocker in Spider-Man Homecoming? It may be happening, you guys. One of the biggest C-list villains in the comic book universe could be making a leap onto the big screen. Coming in as the third big bad in a movie already stuffed to the gunnels, Spider-Man Homecoming may see a return of the Shocker and his Vibo Smasher gauntlets. With Bokeem Woodbine from Fargo Season 2 playing the career criminal of Marvel's Silver Age, moviegoers and fans alike could be in for a real treat. And over in the small screen, the DCU continues to dominate with Arrow. Dolph Lundgren to guest star and no more flashbacks after Season 5. Dolph Lundgren, the original Punisher, will be guest starring on the upcoming Arrow season as a villain in a series of flashbacks set in Russia. Nothing new for the CW's DC headliner, Oliver Queen. Arrow co-showrunner Mark Guggenheim confirmed that Season 5 will be the last year there will be flashbacks during the CW's TCA panel. We always said that Oliver had a 5-year journey when he was marooned on the island. This year, Oliver spends his time in the flashbacks in Russia. We know from various seeds we planted back in the pilot that he knows how to speak Russian. He became a Bratva captain. Sort of the flashback story in the first half of the year is going to involve Oliver's introduction into the Bratva. Maybe Guggenheim will make Oliver smile? We can hope. But, like Suicide Squad, our hopes will probably go in vain. Supergirl and The Flash confirm a musical crossover. You want it? I didn't know I wanted it. Everyone wants it. The entire world has been waiting for this moment. This one shining moment in television history when Supergirl and The Flash sing. We won't talk about the musical wonder that was Gallivant because ABC hates us and likes to kill all of our dreams. Here's what we know about the musical crossover so far. The crossover will use pre-existing songs, presumably similar to the structure of Glee, though there may be one original song per episode. Arrowverse producer Greg Berlanti said the cast often sing while on set and they're like to use all of the actors' talents. Berlanti hopes characters from Arrow and Legends of Tomorrow will be included in the musical crossover, though it's unclear at this time which may appear. The musical crossover will occur in the upcoming seasons after the Big Four show crossover between the CW's DC Comics series. Executive producer Sarah Schechter credited CW for allowing the creative freedom to suggest the musical crossover. This news should come as no surprise to those fans who watched Glee. Grant Gustin and Melissa Benoist have both appeared on Glee and have some serious singing chops. Perhaps not everyone is excited for a musical crossover, however. Oliver Queen himself voiced his opposition, and certainly a number of comic book fans will wonder what the hell is going on. To be fair, The Flash and Supergirl have both proven to be lighter than their darker, grittier modeling counterpart, but the musical theater might be pushing things a bit too far. However, this commentator will point out musical numbers have been done in comic book shows before, or are we all forgetting Batman the Brave and the Bold? And that's it for this week's Quick Flicks. See you next time on the weekly Podioplex.
Thank you, Denise, and once again, welcome aboard. I have one more news item that came in after Denise recorded, and I want to add it to the lineup because of how important this actor was in all of our lives. Kenny Baker died on Saturday at the age of 81. Mr. Baker performed in Labyrinth, Willow, Time Bandits, and Flash Gordon, but he was also the man inside the can of R2-D2 for the first 6 Star Wars films. His niece Abigail Shield told The Guardian that his death was expected, since he had been ill for some time, but sad nonetheless, and that they were proud of the happiness that he brought to people worldwide and the legacy of what he had achieved in his lifetime. He led a long and fruitful life, but he will most certainly be missed. With that, we come to the end of this week's edition of the Weekly Podioplex. If you want to discuss anything you heard on this week's edition, or if you want to welcome Denise to the family, please take a moment to get in touch. You can surf on over to the brand new homepage at chronicrift.com and leave an audio message right there on that website using your microphone. You can write to us at weeklypodioplex@gmail.com. Of course, you can still tweet to us on Twitter. The Chronic Rift is chronic_rift. The Weekly Podioplex is Weekly Podioplex. Denise is Riley James Keith. And I am Womprat99, like the creature Liquid Bullseye in his T-16 in Beggar's Canyon. You can give the Chronic Rift a thumbs up on Stitcher Radio, leave us a 5-star review on iTunes, and find the Weekly Podioplex and the Chronic Rift on Facebook and Google+. Take a moment, stop on by, and consider the shows the Chronic Rift Network has to offer. The main show is offered weekly with the Rift regulars, and you can listen live or download the episode later in the feed. We also have Cyborgs, a Bionic podcast, the Batcave podcast, the OSI Files podcast, the G2V podcast, Generations Geek, presenting the transcription feature, the Dan and Travis Show, the Sci-Fi Diner podcast, and so much more. Check us out and find the culture in pop culture. If you're interested in more of my adventures, take a quick trip to my blog, Creative Criticality, where I'm watching every episode of Doctor Who for the first time from the very beginning of the franchise and reviewing those stories in the Timestamps Project. Right now, the blog is in the middle of the 13th season with the adventures of the 4th Doctor, and the link to those reviews can be found in the show notes. You can also find Creative Criticality on Facebook. Denise can also be found on the internet at Accessories Not Included, where she talks about her writing, reviews books, and offers her services as a cover designer. Check her out at accessoriesnotincluded.com. If you decide to pick up any of this week's new releases, why not do it through our Amazon store? You get the newest entertainment at Amazon's low prices and high-quality service, and each purchase you make to that store supports the Chronic Rift Network. Your support keeps us on the air, and we appreciate your consideration. Look for the links to our best bets and the network store in our show notes, or click the Amazon box on the website. The Weekly Podioplex is a Lucky Shot production and is produced by John S. Drew. On behalf of Denise and John, this is Michael Faulkner. Thanks for listening. Until next time, there are adventures and drama, comedy and action, worlds to explore in the depths of film. Get some popcorn, find your favorite seat, and I'll see you at the theater.
That's a wrap!